Well, the subject for this video is going to be prepping. I haven't been into that very much since the Y2K thing years ago. I put together an extensive food supply, um, and I bought some gold. So the food we ate, since there was no negative outcome from Y2K, and the gold, which I bought for an average price of $260 an ounce, and sold it for $860 an ounce. So that worked out pretty well, and but I haven't felt the need to do that since. Plus, in the meantime, I've done a lot of traveling, and it just wasn't appropriate to try to create a storehouse when you're always on the road. But given world events and weather here in Central Florida, I thought I'd get back into it. So one of the first questions or decisions I had to make is whether or not I'm going to buy a generator to generate electricity. And I got to weigh in that. Last time I prepped, I did have a generator. It used very little. It takes a huge generator to run the whole house the way you're accustomed. So the only thing that did is it preserved my frozen and refrigerated foods, but at a pretty sizable cost. So, and that would require a lot of fuel on hand if you had an extended power outage. So this time I'm going to take a different approach. I'm going to get back into canning things, both heat canning and with a pressure cooker, and also vacuum canning dry goods, with the idea that if the power goes out long enough for the food to begin to thaw in the freezer, I'll just can that. And that's assuming the power comes back on at a decent time, because where I live now it's total electric. When Hurricane Charlie came through a decade or so ago, we were in good shape, but from Orlando to the East Coast, some of those locations were without power 5 days. So if I were without power 5 days, I'd just try to not to open the freezer very much, knowing that when the power came back on, I would have to can that food, which would be fine. I had no losses. Also, I'm getting to the point where when I try to buy food that's on sale, particularly meat, I don't have enough freezer space for that. So I'm not going to buy another freezer, because if I had a electrical outage, that would be more stuff to have to hurriedly cook and can. So instead, I'm going to get into canning in a pretty big way. And I'll have more follow-ups on that later. I'm going to create a new playlist called Prepping. And as I do stuff like that, I will add to that. Now, to use food that needs to be cooked or at least reheated during a power outage, I'm going to depend on an alcohol stove. I produce my own ethanol that's 75 to 80% alcohol by volume, which makes an excellent fuel, and also it's good for sterilizing things and treating wounds. And but after all, it's alcohol. So anyway, I'll follow up on all that and then try to continue this line of thought. So this is the first in the series of prepping.